Hey everybody, welcome back to TechOdyssey. So I want to talk briefly about this whole patent sale thing with BlackBerry to this Catapult Inc. company regarding their patent sale for their smartphone and messaging intellectual property. So they've got a lot of patents, and this has been something that people have known about for a long time, and it got brought up actually a long time ago. Remember whenever BlackBerry was for sale, back when old Thorsten Haynes was the CEO of the company, and yeah, that was a whole debacle. But anyway, there was a lot of issues with getting the company sold. They wouldn't let them sell it to an international company because of, I don't know, the Canadian government would not let them, but a lot of it had to do with the patents. Well, I guess things are a little bit different now, and they figure, well, BlackBerry's not really making any phones. We've still got this whole partition segment off to the side with OnwardMobiltiy, still waiting for that phone, still waiting for them to make an announcement because they said they were going to make one. By the end of January, and that didn't happen. So there's a lot of stuff that's up in the air. But what happened here was BlackBerry sold these patents to this Catapult Inc., I think is what it is, for $600 million. And it's funny because a couple years ago, I think they were valued at like over $2 billion. It was a significant part of their portfolio and the value of the company. So, of course, over time, when you're not using this stuff, they're not as new and fresh as they used to be. So with this patent sale, it gives BlackBerry a significant infusion of cash. And the way this is broken down, $450 million cash money and $150 million in a promissory note, which means basically a loan. You sign a promissory note when you go buy your house, you go buy a car, whatever. So this is something also that apparently they're leasing back in some way to BlackBerry. So it allows them to sell it. And I think the best way that I can equate this is one popular thing when it comes to businesses when they need cash, especially like older ones. You look at like Sears or Macy's or some of these other places, they were built on property that's worth a lot of money. So what they do when they need an infusion of cash is they sell the property and then lease it back, and then they pay this monthly lease to continue to use the building and occupy it and all that good stuff. So it seems like what's happened here is they've sold it. They have some sort of a limited lease back to where they can use this stuff and it won't impact anything hardware or phone or whatever related that's still left hanging out there. And I don't know the extent of that, but I wanted to talk about it because a lot of people are concerned. And of course, this doesn't look great from a certain perspective, like, making a phone. But from my understanding, it doesn't impact what's going on with the OnwardMobiltiy device. This is something that's separate, and the way that this is working is BlackBerry basically sold it off with a lease back for a bunch of money. But hopefully this is good for them, because if you look at BlackBerry, you look at what's been happening. Of course, I believe their earnings missed again this last quarter, if I remember correctly from when I was reading it recently. Yeah, I mean, BlackBerry, of course, is a security and software services company now. They've got QNX. They're have the most security and systems out there and automobiles out on the road today. And it really is kind of frustrating. And back in the day, whenever QNX and BlackBerry first started doing this and putting them into cars for the car security, the car operating system stuff, they'd never found a way to monetize that. And they were doing it basically for free or pennies on the dollar, if I remember correctly. So I knew then that it was probably going to be problematic later, and now they're in everything. They're in so many different cars worldwide, and they don't really have a great way to get money out of that. So the quarterly revenue, I think, I want to say, don't quote me on this. So if you're a BlackBerry stock guy or if you're somebody who follows this stuff closely, I've always been more of a BlackBerry handset kind of guy, not so much what's going on in the business side of the house. Hopefully this money allows them to do some cool things, do some more ventures, do some more, maybe an acquisition. If they were doing this, they probably have some sort of a significant project in mind and are not just looking for operational cash flow. So I would hope that BlackBerry does something with this, and John Chen specifically. He seems to do all right with keeping the business afloat with not a whole lot of stuff out there. There's been a significant reshaping, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point I would kind of recommend maybe they change the name back to Research in Motion. I really didn't agree with that whenever they changed it back in the day to BlackBerry. That would be like if Apple changed their name to iPhone because the iPhone is so popular. They were Research in Motion. They were very well respected. They had a lot of stuff. Of course, I mean, here we are today in 2022 selling off a ton of patents for $600 million. Imagine the magnitude and the scope of that 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10 years ago when they were still at the top of their game and were still a very big player globally and in the smartphone industry. Hopefully they can rebuild some of that greatness and they can find a way to do it. My hope is one day that they're very successful, and I want them to be successful as a company. I want them to make a bunch of money, and then maybe at some point in time, maybe they can make another phone on their own one day. Like, nobody, I think, would bat an eye at that, and I think a lot of people would probably support that. Like maybe 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road, who knows? They've always been a big player in the whole smartphone industry. I mean, they basically created smartphones. So I hope this is good. I hope this $600 million really helps them out, and I hope that we see something great come out of it. But for now, of course, it seems like for people still waiting around hoping that they do make a phone. And I think as recently as, I think it was December, maybe, don't quote me on the date, John Chen had mentioned that, maybe one day they could re-enter the smartphone business. I don't think anyone would ever count them out on that, but clearly that's not the direction they're in. They have made it very, very, very clear that they are not a phone-making business anymore. They're not a phone company. They are a security and software services company, and that's great. If they can do that, be the best that they can be, just like the old Army slogan, and that'll be good for them. It'll be good for their employees. There's always been a lot of talent. It's so funny because if you look at what happened once the company really downsized, let a lot of people go, got rid of the smartphone division, they went to go do great things. There are a lot of BlackBerry talent, engineers, all sorts of people all over the world in big company positions right now. So they've always been they were a big driving force in technology and science and the marketplace in Canada and Waterloo. So I'd like to see them reestablish themselves, regain that footprint, reestablish themselves in a big way. And I think maybe this could be a catalyst. Maybe this could help start it. I'd like to see something do better than their acquisition of Cylance, which I hope is paying off now, because on paper, once they finally got through with that acquisition, I don't think it worked out so well. So we'll see how things go. Just wanted to talk to you guys about this because I think it's big. Of course, it still follows along with the mantra of BlackBerry is not a phone company. Of course, they still have the licensing agreement with OnwardMobiltiy. So we'll see what happens there. I hope that OnwardMobiltiy makes some sort of a statement soon to let people know what's going on, and also talk about, they said they were going to give us monthly updates now, and we're still waiting. So we'll see how that goes. But that's all I've got. What do you think? Do you think that this was a good move by BlackBerry? Do you think that this sale of the intellectual property, the patents they have for phones and messaging stuff, do you think that'll be helpful? Do you think that they'll blow it and waste it on something stupid, or you think they'll actually use it for something? I hope they have a big plan in mind. I really do. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section. I'll get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.